Welcome to my cozy little corner. Today I have a quick little video for you guys. So I've noticed that I have a very big lack of fantasy on this channel so far. The last couple of months I've been very heavy into like lit fic and historical fiction, but I'm a big fantasy fan. I love sci-fi and fantasy. I feel like last year I took a bit of a break, and the year before was when I really hammered out some of my favorite fantasy series. So I thought today we'd do a quick little list of my top 10 favorite fantasy series of all time, and then that way I'm giving fantasy the time that it deserves. All right, so I got my trusty little list. Number 9, actually 10. Number 10 is technically a honorable mention and is technically cheating. But number 10 is the Song of Chaos series. The reason why this is technically cheating and it's also an honorable mention is because technically I've only read one book. When I was putting together this list, the Song of Chaos series, which is a very like boy and his dragon, fantasy trope heavy, like classic feeling fantasy. I just finished the first one and I just wanted to put it on this list so bad. so so for that reason, I kind of cheated and I put it in number 10. This is about a boy named Holt who is a son of a cook. He's literally Holt Cook. And so he's supposed to go on to follow in his father's footsteps and become a cook. But he's obsessed with dragon riders. And through some events, he acquires a dragon's egg, and the events go from there. This, like I said, has that very, very classic feeling fantasy, as well as in the author's note, he talks about how he was trying to have all of the fun fantasy tropes, boy with his dragon, hero's journey, but still kind of make it feel fresh. And I definitely think he did that. Yeah, so for that reason, it's my number 10, but I haven't read the entire series, so I can't really say much. But all the rest of them, I pretty much have read all the books. Number 9. Number 9 is basically like pure nostalgia, kind of. So, number 9 is The Infernal Devices. So, I was not a Shadowhunters kid. Like, I watched the show. My sister was more of like the Shadowhunters kid. And last year during the fall, I binged the entire Shadowhunters like universe, and Infernal Devices just like took my heart. Don't know anything about the Infernal Devices. It's crazy y'all still exist. But basically the Infernal Devices is a like historical Victorian England set prequel to the Shadowhunters books, and there is a girl who basically is coming to, I think she's coming to like America to see her brother for whatever reason. Angels and demons and a very like steampunky vibe happen. I don't know. I feel weird explaining the Shadowhunters universe and like the Infernal Devices because it's such a big thing. But what I meant by like nostalgia is this series feels nostalgic even though I didn't read it when I was younger. I read it when I was 26. So, but there's just something about it that makes you feel nostalgic. It has a very fun love triangle. I love the love triangle in this, and I love the way the love triangle ends. I love the kind of steampunky atmosphere and the kind of like mechanical Victorian England fog everywhere atmosphere. It's just fun to me. Like the Infernal Devices is just pure fun. So for that reason, it's number 9. Next, number 8 is a duology. So the Villains duology by E. Schwab, Jesus Lord. It's Villains and Vicious. So this is a duology that's basically kind of like Dark Academia adjacent. It starts where these two boys are doing a project, and they basically figure out that if you go through a near-death experience, you will become what they call EOs, extraordinaries, where you basically have superpowers. Like, that's the best way to explain it, is that when you have a near-death experience, you get superpowers. And this is it evolves into this, like, who you think's gonna be the villain feels more like the hero, and who you think's going to be the hero feels more like the villain. It's got very morally gray characters. It's like, if you like X-Men, it's got a very heavy X-Men vibe to me. It kind of has like a Professor X Magneto situation, but not really at all. Like, just like a very, got these two people who have opposing views of a situation, who kind of have this like friends to enemies pipeline. And I love V. Schwab. I've read a few books by V. Schwab, and she always gets me. I love V. Schwab. But I do think the villains duology is just so fun, and I love it. I love it to death. And that is number 8. Number 7. Okay, so I loved this trilogy when I first read it, but I'm a little fuzzy on the synopsis, and that is the Daevabad trilogy. I can tell you from this trilogy is that it is a fantasy trilogy based in like Middle Eastern folklore. I remember reading the first book and thinking like, oh, this is fine. Like, and it ends on like a cliffhanger. The way it ends had me in a chokehold. And then I start the second book and I realize there is a giant time jump. And I was like, wait, what? What? And so I had to take a bit of a break because I was kind of upset. And then I came back to it and realized that it's gold. To me, this is how you do fantasy with a romantic subplot that's truly a subplot. Like, I don't really like modern romantasy because it always has too heavy of a focus on romance, and where like this feels like the romance or the romance subplot is so mixed in to the plot of the story that it doesn't feel like, oh, romantasy. Also, I always love fantasy when it does a different type of folklore, and this like Middle Eastern folklore was so fun, and the atmosphere is so good, and Jesus, her writing also beautiful. This also has a love triangle in it that I think is done correctly. I usually dislike a love triangle. Actually, that's not true. I love a love triangle when it's done right. It's just never done right. So for that reason, the Daevabad trilogy is number 7. Number 6 is the First Law trilogy. So I have yet to continue on with Joe Abercrombie, but I loved the First Law. He just can be a lot. The First Law is true grimdark. Abercrombie is called the King of Grimdark for a reason. He is true grimdark. This is a series that subverts so many tropes, and it's kind of hard to explain, but there are 3 main POVs that you follow, and it's kind of best to know not a lot. I do remember there is like the Union is right in the middle and the map is a circle, and then you have all of the forces from like the north and south coming for the Union. We have a character who's a barbarian. We have a character who is a torturer, and then we have a like stuck up selfish noble. And by the end of this series, everything that you think you know about these characters just gets completely flipped on their head. Everyone loves Glokta, and don't get me wrong, I love Glokta too. If you read it, you'll love Glokta too. But I really like Logan Ninefingers. He's the barbarian character, and just the direction that his character go. I love Logan Ninefingers. Yes. But what makes the series so good and what makes Joe Abercrombie so good, I'm not the first person to talk about this, is his character writing. It's very true that the first book, but mostly the whole series, but definitely the first book is most definitely character forward. Like, there's barely any plot in that first book, and I don't really mind. I'm a lit fic reader, character driven reader. I love it. I love his character work, Joe Abercrombie's character work, and also his world, the grimdark world that he has built. It's like there's nothing like it. When I'm in the mood for that world, I have to read Joe Abercrombie. I can't read anything else. And so for that reason, First Law is number 6. So now we've made it to the top 5. So number 5 for me is Mistborn. So, yes, Brando Sando will always have a special place in my heart because he was really my entry point into adult fantasy. Read a lot of fantasy when I was younger, but I really started like really reading like maybe like 3 years ago, and I mean, come on, Brandon Sando knows how to like help you get into fantasy, right? So Mistborn is basically if the bad guy won and then now the world is just dark and bleak and gross, and that's the world now. And so we have Vin, who ends up teaming up with a bunch of thieves, and they decide to do the biggest heist, which is taking down the Lord Ruler. Um, Mistborn, I love the banter. I love the story. The twist in the third book definitely got me. There's just so many memorable characters. There's just so. It's a great gateway into fantasy because adult fantasy, because it doesn't feel too heavy on the world building where you're like confused. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of adult fantasies that you can read and you just feel lost in the language, and sometimes my eyes will gloss over, but like Mistborn never did that for me. I have gotten so many people to read Mistborn. It's just a great starting point, and if you like a heist, like emphasis on heist, that first book is great. Like heist, found family, awesome magic system that has to do with metal. Brandon Sanderson is kind of known for his magic systems that are very heavy almost on like the scientific aspect, a hard magic system if you will. But yes, love Brando Sando, and that is the reason he's number 5. Number 4 again is kind of cheating. So there's 9 books in the series and I've only read 5, but something insane has to happen for me to absolutely hate the series, and that is The Expanse. So The Expanse is a space opera series where we have a crew of misfits that have to do missions and whatnot. It kind of starts with this like mystery plot line in the first book where you have James Holden who has his crew, and then you have this detective that's trying to find this girl, and their stories kind of get intertwined. And in every single book, it's very plot forward. In every single book, you get introduced to a different POV, so it makes every book feel different. And it really expands, no pun intended, on itself. It's just like once you get to a certain point, you're just like, wait a minute, I'm already on book 4, and the world just feels so vast. And you will be getting an Expanse video when I'm actually done, because I could probably talk about it for hours, but it really plays around with that idea of, okay, so if there's more planets or more real estate, the politics are going to go crazy. Like there's more room to grow, and who's going to get the right to these planets and this land, and it really feels realistic in that aspect. Um, but at the core of the story, it's the crew. And if you like a crew of misfits, this is definitely one you have to try. For that reason, The Expanse is number 4. All right, top three. So my top 3, my number 3 is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I need to give this a reread. I got my boyfriend to read it, so like I've been kind of reliving it in my head, and I just gotta give it a reread. This is basically like an Asian Sopranos with magic. It's set in like a gang torn world, and we have this magical ish material called jade, which not everybody can use. When used, it can kind of give you like superhuman-ish abilities, if you will. It kind of enhances your senses and so on and so forth. But because this substance exists, of course, there's going to be people trying to copycat this substance or people who are trying to regulate the substance. What I think makes this series so good is you are following the 3 main people of the clan. And you have the pillar who's basically in charge. You have the like other one who's like the military. He controls the military, and then you have the weatherman. And so basically there are 3 POVs where you're following all 3 of these siblings from this family. And this family kind of has the stronghold over Jade, and what makes this series so good is the morally grayness. You want to hate this character so bad, but you also love to watch the crash out. It is like watching an HBO TV show, in my opinion, like a long running HBO TV show, like I said, like a Sopranos back in the day. And like what Fonda Lee does with the timeline at the end of the series is, the things that she does in Jade's Legacy will always stick in my head, and that's why I need to give it a reread, because it's just so amazing. But if you like a crime lord mafia type story, urban fantasy, I would definitely suggest giving Jade City a try. My number 2, which I think could be kind of controversial, because I think this is a series where it's like you either really love it and you get it, or you don't. And that is The Poppy War. I don't know what it is about this series that really just, actually I do know, but The Poppy War is a very dark, military-esque fantasy. A girl who grows up in the slums and claws her way out of poverty through the vein of military. There is a magic system in this, but I feel like it plays out later. This to me does such a good job of kind of showing like how far a person can go for what they want to get done. It is set in like the opioid crisis, so you kind of get conversations around that. And this author has like R.F. Kuang kind of gets a little bit of shit here and there about being like too smart, but I just think it makes the historical elements of this amazing. I think that your enjoyment of the series is going to depend on whether or not you like the main character. She is rough around the edges and very unlikable. And so I think if you don't like her, you're just not going to like the series at all. I, for one, love her. I think the trajectory that the series takes as well, I can see people not really liking. This is a series that does not shy away from the realities of war, and I, for one, there was a lot of scenes where I was just like, oh my god, because it was a lot. But I don't know, I think it's worth it, and I love it, and I love R.F. Kuang, and yeah, for that reason, The Poppy War is number 2. Number 1 should not surprise anyone who knows me. This is my baby. Number 1, drumroll please, is The Lies of Locke Lamora. Oh my god. So technically the series is unfinished. Whether or not we're getting the books that we are promised is still up in the air, but that's fine. I can just keep rereading the first one and I'll be okay. I actually really love the second one as well, but I digress. Lies of Locke Lamora is about Locke, who is like a thief and he's mischievous and he's like kind of a prodigy when it comes to that. And in the first book, you meet the gentleman bastards and you kind of you learn how they were put together. You learn a little bit about them coming up and growing up, whilst you also get this timeline of them older and them doing this really big heist. Scott Lynch has some of my favorite, like, dry humor. The banter with the Gentleman Bastards is some of like my favorite banter ever. I just have a very special place in my heart for Locke, but also Locke and Jean have one of the best bromances that I have ever read. I need to read more bromances, but this is like ultimate top tier. If you love a heist, I definitely give it a shot. It's another grim dark. I think that if you have read the First Law and you like the feeling of the First Law, I would definitely give this a try. The city it's set in is a very crime ridden like environment city. It kind of reminds me of like an Italy vibe. Like there's a lot of like water around and it's kind of like eat or get eaten type world. Like you gotta be committing crimes to live there because it's like it's just so bad. Like it gives Gotham a run for its money. I love this series. I love the characters and I hope Scott Lynch can finish it. I need everyone and their mom to read the first one. It's just so good. Um I know that a lot of people have opinions on like the first one versus the rest of them. They do kind of change just because of events of the story, but I love the second one. The second one has like a piratey feel and I love it. Um but yes, that is my number 1, Lies of Locke Lamora. Okay, I think I did enough talking. I think I got that out quick enough. But yes, those are my top 10 favorite series, like fantasy and sci-fi series. I'm definitely reading a ton this year, so I might have to update you when this year is over and change it up a little bit, but we'll see. I would love to know what your guys' favorite series is. So yeah, like, subscribe, and leave me a comment of what your favorite fantasy or sci-fi series is. And yeah, I'll see you next time.